So, welcome to episode 4 of the podcast. Here with us tonight is Attorney Julius Ferrer. He'll be talking to us about the contrast between working at the Public Attorney's Office or the PAO and in a private law firm setting. So, welcome, Julius. Thanks for making time and being on the podcast. Kumusta? How are you?
Yes, I'm doing good and staying alive during this COVID season.
Yeah. Hopefully, wala namang cases dyan sa... where are you right now? Are you in QC or...
I'm actually in Pangasinan right now. I have some hearings to attend to, and some clients to talk with. So I am actually here. But I also do traveling for some clients in Metro Manila, but only for purposes of meeting them and during their hearing dates.
Well, it sounds like you're not too affected by the quarantine, and that's good to hear. So, anyway,
Yes.
I'm adopting a practice on this show where I have the guests give their own bios or their own elevator speech. So, can you please introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yes. So I am Atty. Julius Abraham Ferrer, and I am a graduate of the Far Eastern University, batch 2013, and I was admitted to the bar sometime in April 2015. So actually, it's my fifth year in the legal profession now, and well, uh, law school is good, but music is better. So uh, I always incorporate music with what I do, even at work. So just to stay relaxed and just so you don't feel stressed uh, working for your client's causes.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a bit about your previous work experience or before we jump into your current practice?
Yes, actually, I began working as a legislative staff of now Secretary Mark Villar, and when after taking the bar exams, I worked with Integrated Managed Solutions in Makati as a project attorney for roughly 3 months before I got my appointment with the public attorney's office. Then almost 4 years later, I put up my own law office with my wife, and here I am today.
All right, that's interesting. So I was going to ask, if you worked immediately after you took the bar or after you got the results, but I guess you beat me to the punch. So after the bar, waiting for the results, you worked with was it Mark Villar you mentioned?
Yes, actually, I worked with then Congressman Mark Villar. Uh, Before graduating to law school, and it continued even just before the review season entered, and uh, I left the office. I resigned. Then I took the bar. Then while waiting for the results, actually I got employed with a certain political party. Actually, I do not know that it was in a political party that I applied for. I even thought it was a law office, but it was actually with the legal department of this certain political party. Then, well, whatever it is, I do not want to dwell with the politics, but of course, we always learn something new in whatever employment we get. So at least I have contributed something for that particular job for a while. Then then when the results came out, I I got employed with Integrion Managed Solutions in Makati. Then I got appointed as a public attorney, and I was assigned in San Jose del Monte in Bulacan. Um, then more than a year later, I was promoted as the district public attorney of Norsagaray, Bulacan. I was then the first district public attorney of that particular area.
Wait, sorry. You're not allowed to mention which political party that was, or you just you think it's better that you don't mention it. Either way is fine.
It's better not to mention the political party.
All right then. All right, I understand. All right, so okay, so when you weren't with then Congressman Villar when you passed the bar. Okay, okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you mentioned that you went to the PAO. So while you were waiting for your appointment, you went to Integrion. Okay, so but so was working in the government or going to the public attorney's office really something that you planned out early on, or was it something like you were in the right place and the right time, or it was just the right timing? Was it something like that, or?
I think it was just a right timing. I did not actually intend to what do you call this, to apply for the public attorney's office, but due to circumstances, a certain friend actually invited me to submit application documents with the public attorney's office. Fortunately, I was the one who pursued the application, and he pursued his application with the Commission on Audit. So I was lucky enough to be part of the public attorney's office back then. But it was as if the opportunity went at the right place, because actually being a project attorney with Integrion, we are not actually permanent with our jobs. So our jobs are dependent on the projects sourced by the employer. So unfortunately, during my stint with Integrion, a big case happened to have compromise agreement. So all the documents we have been reviewing suddenly stopped. So our employment was also about to stop then. Then less than a month later, my appointment came out with the public attorney's office. So it's as if I only had a short vacation prior to my appointment.
a short vacation paid by Integrion. All right, that's interesting. All right, you mentioned that you were assigned in. Oh yeah, my question is, do you get to pick which city? Is it the correct term? Which city you get assigned to when you're with the public attorney's office? You mentioned that you were in Bulacan.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you don't get to pick your own place of assignment. However, you will be assigned where circumstances would require you to be. Just like in my case, I actually would like to apply for uh, public attorney's office of Quezon City or Manila, supposedly, since I am from Quezon City back then. But I was assigned to San Jose del Monte. Luckily, I was assigned there because as we get along the years, the traffic worsened, and being assigned in San Jose del Monte became more favorable to me than working perhaps in Quezon City or in Manila. So I was thankful enough to have been assigned in San Jose del Monte during the time.
But you had absolutely no say in being assigned in Bulacan. Like, for some people, if let's say they were the ones in your shoes, would they have wala na silang magagawa? Like if they didn't favor being assigned in Bulacan, it's take it or leave it. Is that how it works?
That I do not know, actually. In my case, it was just a happy coincidence that I was assigned there, and I do not want to question the wisdom behind it, but of course.
Of course, we're not. Yeah, we're not questioning. Just a curious question about whether the applicant or the lawyer has any say about where they're going to be appointed.
Perhaps a request to be assigned in a particular city or municipality, but generally it's the exigencies of service that requires one public attorney to be assigned in a place.
Alright,
So this is already a matter of what do you call this? A need for lawyers in that particular area that makes them assigned to that place.
That's interesting. So, and you were with the Bulacan branch, or you were in Bulacan the whole time for your entire stint with the public attorney's office?
Yes, actually, I was
Sorry, how
assigned.
many years was this, by the way? I know you mentioned it earlier. How many years were you with the public attorney's office?
I was with the public attorney's office for roughly 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's like an eternity.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
When facing clients, yes, it is an eternity.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I would like to jump off to the next point from that, because when you're in practice, you always hear a lot of stories about what it's like in the PAO. Well, usually, or it's usually or especially about high the salary grade is, or or about how wild the workload can get. So that's what usually comes up in those conversations with friends or colleagues who work in the PAO. But I'd like to ask, or we want to hear straight from you, like from someone who actually worked there. So can you tell us what exactly is working as a public attorney like?
Working as a public attorney is a fulfilling yet tiring job.
Mhm.
You get to meet a lot of clients. You get to encounter a lot of cases. But of course, this is all for public service, and you don't get to be paid by clients. Of course, you are paid by the government to serve the people, and of course, this is the way to address what do you call this? The need for lawyers. Of course, as we know, cases do not run without lawyers, and regardless of the nature of the case, regardless of a client, whether a client is rich or poor, uh, a case must only proceed with the assistance of a counsel, and it is the government's response to assign public attorney's office to assist those clients who do not have their own counsel of choice.
So from that, I guess for the benefit of our non-lawyer listeners, you're saying that the job or the main purpose of the public attorney's office is to provide legal service for those who perhaps cannot afford to secure the services of
Yes.
counsel, among
Yes.
other things.
Among other things, yes. And of course, there are times when uh, there are conflicting interests in in a certain case. So one lawyer has to inhibit himself from assisting in the case. So we have to appoint a counsel de officio, and that counsel de officio usually is in the person of the public attorney assigned to that particular court.
So it's like you're the default counsel de officio. Although,
Yes,
well,
actually.
it's also not uncommon for the judge sometimes to like point out to some random lawyer in the back and say, you be a counsel
Yes,
de officio for this person. Yeah,
yes,
I've
actually.
seen that a bunch of times as well. But you're the default counsel de officio.
Mhm.
All right. All right. What's the schedule like for a public attorney?
A
Like what?
public attorney
Yeah, I mean, like what?
schedule.
What's a normal day like, and like how many days a week do you work, and until what time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, we have to be in the office from 8 o'clock to 5 p.m. And on top of that, of course, if there are still clients waiting in line to see their handsome public attorney or their pretty public attorneys, you still have to entertain them before sending them off. Then
So
we
past
also
5.
have, yes, sometimes you reach past 5. But in my case, since I only stayed in Bulacan, sometimes I last until 5 p.m. only. Then the rest from 5 p.m. to 7, usually 7, or it depends when the prosecutor or the police station calls you that there is a certain criminal caught in the act and we have to bring him for inquest. So again, we have to extend time because of course, as you know, uh, inquest proceeding is done in a limited period of 8, 16, 24, 36
Yep.
hours.
Mm-hmm.
So they really have to bring the accused to inquest. So as much as we would like to go home and take a rest after 5 p.m., sometimes we still have to assist clients after 5 p.m. to assist them with some inquest matters.
But there's a bunch of you on rotation, right? I mean, it's not just you. I mean, you don't have to stay for inquest every single time, right?
Yes, actually. You'll be if you have some fellow lawyers assigned in a certain district, then you will be lucky enough to at least once a week be assigned only. Uh, Sometimes our Saturdays are also sacrificed for inquest proceedings
All right.
and holidays, of
So
course.
so sometimes, so it's not like you have to be in the office every Saturday, because I think I heard that you have if you're a public attorney you have to work until Saturdays. So it's not every
Um,
single Saturday.
by assignment,
Mm,
but there will always be a public attorney assigned for that day.
all right. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Mhm.
So so you actually about the Saturday schedule. I'd like to jump off to the next my next
Mhm.
query actually. Do you
Okay.
have when you're a public attorney? Do you still have time to do other things, or do your hobbies, or in your case your music? Or
Yes, actually, I can still do.
mm-hmm.
If I am not in a hearing or I am not assigned as the officer of the day, then no client would like to approach me because they would like to approach uh, more handsome or uh, the prettier attorneys available, then it would be a lucky day for you not to entertain even a single client. So what I do is relax a bit, um, put on my music, then just await until a client appears or perhaps finish your pleadings or other paperworks which needs to be filed on time.
Yeah, you mentioned pleadings and paperwork. Like, how bad is, or how, well, not bad. Like, how's the workload like in a normal day? Like, is there any part of the day where you can just take a breather, or are you swamped in paperwork every single minute?
Not necessarily. I still have time to buy my own coffee or uh, buy some food for a while, take a break. Um, since the big load actually of a public attorney is more on criminal cases, actually criminal cases have less paperwork than civil cases. So um, in criminal cases, we prefer uh, oral comments, oral motions. So if we can do that, we prioritize oral motions or oral comments. So much so to avoid with paperworks piling up.
By oral motions, you mean like the usual plea bargaining that we see when we're in court, right? Or is that
Yes,
just
sometimes even a demurrer to evidence, or shall we say motion to quash in a criminal case, which is to a motion to dismiss. Sometimes, if you are lucky enough to be assigned in a judge who understands the workload of both the public attorney and the public prosecutor, uh, the judge will actually give you ample time to make your oral comments or oral motions. So the judge could also uh, rule immediately, and
yeah, go
it
ahead,
will
sorry.
it will not only save you from time of doing the paperwork, but also it will also save you from waiting for the resolution of the judge.
All right. So, but actually, my main question, or what I really wanted to find out, is like, is the work really as wild as as people often describe it, or is it more of an exaggeration or an underestimation? Like, if you're thinking of going to the PAO, I'm sure that's one thing that
Mhm.
you'd consider. So, uh, uh, let me ask the question for everyone out there who's
Yes.
thinking of going
Okay.
to the PAO. Like, is it exaggerated, or is it even underestimated or downplayed?
It's not exaggerated, but it is doable. That
Okay.
is what I can assure to everyone who would like to enter the public attorney's office. You may have more clients than a regular private practitioner, but the caseload is doable, and you just have to manage your time. Perhaps you will be surprised within the first 3 to 6 months, but after the first 3 to 6 months, you will get used to your caseload, and now 500 to 1,000 cases is nothing to a public attorney.
500 to
That's the actually
1,000.
that's the regular. Yes.
Right. Okay. That sounds wild to me. All right.
A
So,
bit exaggerated, but I experience um, assisting in a court uh, where in a day we, what do you call this? We heard at least 100 cases, 50 in the morning, 50 in the afternoon, and we finished everything at 6 p.m. But it was a victorious day for all of us to have
wait, 6
finished.
p.m. Hearings last through 6 p.m.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, it's normal for some courts to end at 6 p.m. That's how diligent
Mm-hmm.
the public prosecutors, the judges, and the public attorneys in assisting clients or assisting the cases filed in that particular court.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask this next question after
Mhm.
you talk about private practice. So, but what you've narrated so far sounds good. But what made you decide that being with the POW wasn't a long-lasting thing, or what made you leave actually?
Actually, what made me left the PAO or leave the PAO was because I would like to establish an office for my wife. Um, we plan to have it here in Pangasinan,
Mhm.
considering that my place is Pangasinan, and she would like to live in the province. So we have chosen Pangasinan because she's from Zamboanga.
Mhm.
So uh, of course, the only way to establish that is for me to personally come to Pangasinan and establish it, since I am the person who hails from Pangasinan. So uh, that was the plan. But of course, inclusive in the plan is also uh, they plan to make a comeback in the future in government service once the law office is fully established. However, considering the
Things are going right now.
restrictions, yes, of
Mhm.
course, the lockdown we were also surprised by the sudden lockdown last March. We were actually getting to the mood of uh, getting boosted.
What do you
Uh,
mean? What do you mean getting boosted? Sorry.
um, we are gaining our momentum in the private practice when the lockdown was implemented. So we have to stop, of course, for a while. And well, as of now, we are regaining the same momentum again uh, because of the easing up of the restrictions, and of course giving priorities to those persons with um, what do you call this, essential services, like of
Mhm.
course legal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's been tough for everyone, really. So
Yes.
everything hinges on whether the government allows us to start working as normally as possible. But yeah, I
As
mean,
possible, yes.
good luck to all of us on that part. But yeah, but just to clarify, you didn't leave the public attorney's office because you didn't think that, oh, I've been here for 3 years, I think I've gotten the experience that I needed. It wasn't anything like that. It was really just about
No.
starting your own firm. All right. Because isn't it like the most common sentiment among that's what I mentioned earlier, actually, that 3 years is like an eternity in the public attorney's office, at least based on the sentiments that I hear from people who came from there. uh,
Mhm.
it's always the thing where they feel like I've plateaued and I think it's time to move on to another field. It wasn't the case with you.
It wasn't the case with me. Actually, I miss the action
Yeah.
in the public attorney's office.
Mm-hmm.
I miss the action in litigation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I'm just waiting for another perfect time to to execute all my other plans to make a comeback. But
Okay.
definitely, I will. If my services are needed for the government, I will definitely go back and work for the government. Perhaps we cannot say if it is within the public attorney's office, or it could be at the other side of the fence.
You mean the prosecution?
Well, the doors are not yet closed, and as long as there is an opening in the future, I would be glad to help, and of course, this time not to defend the accused, but to prosecute the accused.
All right. Yeah. But okay. But before we get to that, I'd like to like have you talk a bit about your current practice or your firm. So just to clarify, when did you establish the firm again?
We established the firm sometime in April 2019.
Mhm. Okay.
We celebrated our anniversary during lockdown.
Yeah. Okay. And
And
yeah, you mentioned that it's in Pangasinan, right?
yes, yes.
Is that the loan office, or do you have any branches or satellite offices anywhere in the metro?
Actually, it is the loan office. However, as we all know, actually clients nowadays are not going to the office. They would prefer meeting you in a coffee shop, Starbucks, or anything. So since lawyers are mobile by profession,
Mm-hmm.
we can go to places where our services are needed. And so that's our goal, to be somewhat concierge lawyers. Um, we will be where our clients need us to be. So if a client calls from a certain place, see, we could come to that place and assist the client. So regardless of whether in Pangasinan or Metro Manila, but uh, honestly, most of our clients are from Metro Manila.
Mm-hmm.
Not that numerous, but of course, most of them are in Manila.
So you're saying that the main office is in Pangasinan, but it doesn't matter whether work comes from Metro Manila, any city in the metro, or Pangasinan. You will go and render your service.
Yes,
All right, sounds
yes.
good. So it's been a year, right? You said you've had your anniversary. So can you describe to us what life is having your own office?
Well, at first, you will be wondering the action is not there.
Mhm.
Sometimes there will be dull moments. Uh, Actually, most of the time, there will be dull moments when clients do not enter your office or no one will be consulting you. I don't
Especially
know
for
if
you, especially since you
yes,
came, sorry to cut you off, especially for you, if when you got used to the how it is with the public attorney's office where
yes,
everything's
actually,
always busy. All right, okay, please
and
continue. Sorry.
of course, since I am a newcomer in the practice of law in Pangasinan, our office has not yet been known. It is not yet that fully known. So we gain clients by referral of family members, of friends, of colleagues, and um, that is why most of our clients are still in Metro Manila because, of course, our friends are left there, and uh, uh, there are also colleagues who do not want to practice litigation. They would rather practice corporate law or any other uh, field
Wait,
of
so
law
sorry.
other than court. So
So you're
whenever a
sorry.
client is referred,
Your
yeah,
firm is your firm is into mostly litigation work.
yes, mostly
All right.
litigation work, criminal and civil.
Mhm. I was gonna ask that later, but just so we get a better idea about uh, how when you said that it could get boring at times. So just so we
Yes.
know where you're coming from. Okay, please continue. Sorry.
Then when your friends or colleagues refer to you cases which they do not want to take because it is litigation, then uh, after considering perhaps the case, then I would decide if we are going to take it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, litigation is a very tiring field of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are mandatory um, what do you call this? Limited time to file,
The
um,
deadlines.
limited time to move, the deadlines, the requirements of the practice and all, and of course the demands of the client. Yeah, isa rin yan, of
Mm-hmm.
course. Uh, any advice you give to the client may sometimes your advice actually are taken for granted. They would like to pursue uh, what they have in mind, unlike in public attorney's office that we decide what is good for the client. Of course, we get their opinions, we get their consent, but basically we give them the best suggestion we could for their cases. But in private practice, we get the consent of the client regardless of what we actually want to do. At the end of the day, what we say is that, anyway, bayad naman ito, so bahala ka kung ma-dismiss or not. So, it's their loss anyway.
Yeah, I guess there's a. I was going to ask about that later, but since you already touched on it, it's fine. I was going to ask about the stark differences or the contrasts between being in the public attorney's office and in private practice. But anyway, before we get to that topic, do you have any takeaways from your stint at the public attorney's office that proved to be very invaluable to your present private practice?
Yes, actually, you will be updated with all the necessary rules and decisions of the Supreme Court. You will be updated with the recent jurisprudence that you need to know to apply to your case, or sometimes, or most of the time, you have to challenge the law in order to benefit your client.
Wait, sorry.
Anyway,
When you say sorry to cut you off. When you say that you have to be updated, is it or the advantages that you are updated? Is it because they give you a heads up, or they tell you that, oh, there's a circular that came out and we have to be cautious about that, or we have to take note of that? Is it that way, or does it work that way,
yes,
or okay.
for as long as it benefits your client. Say, for instance, there are rules on decongesting the jails or any detention center for that matter, and you have to look for some grounds to benefit your client if your client's case coincides with one of the reasons why they should be uh, given liberty. Then regardless of the application of bail, if the condition set by the Supreme Court is met, then they have to be released from detention. So that is favorable to our client, and sometimes we also use the benefit for them to be free again.
But so this is in contrast to private practice where you have to do the research yourself. Like you have to keep checking if there's anything that could be beneficial to my client, or as the defense counsel, is there anything that I can find? Is that what you mean by is that what you mean by having an advantage while with the public attorney's office?
No, actually, the updates are actually being done through our own initiative. We research on that, but of course, since the application of this particular rule or particular jurisprudence will not only be applicable or not only be made applicable to one client, but sometimes most of them, unlike in private practice, that once you make a research, it is only most of the time applicable for just one case.
That
But
client,
in
that
public
particular
attorney's office,
client.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
When you get along with the cases with the public attorney's office, actually, most of them are almost the same. Say, for instance, when handling drugs cases, direct assaults, physical injuries, yan, pare-pareho yan. Dumiikot lang. So, sometimes, when you encounter the same story or the same scenario, you will recall a certain application of law that you used to benefit your client, to have him acquitted, or to have his case dismissed. So, once a certain story is followed, then immediately, automatically, you will say, alam ko na to. So, you will be surprised. Of course, since you will be assigned only to a certain court, this court will actually follow its previous ruling
Its
also
own
of admitting
precedent.
or dismissing the case.
Mhm.
Oo.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Would you consider, you mentioned about the repetitive nature of the cases that you handle.
Mhm.
Would you consider that like a good thing? Or is it a pro or a con? Like, is it one thing that you don't like about being in the public attorney's office, or is it the other way around?
Actually, we might be surprised why those stories are almost the same in some cases, but it's actually the true story. Let us say that um, the story of one person is the story of all humanity, as Paulo Coelho would say. But uh, it's sometimes uh, what happened to a particular person may also happen to this particular person. And um, of course, since only time will differentiate them, so you will only uh, dissect those areas, separate them, and make it applicable. Sana lang, once that happens, wala pang bagong jurisprudence that reversing reversing your previous line of defense.
But so I take it that you don't think it's a bad thing that you handle like similar cases while with the public attorney's office. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's like
Yes,
so you're looking at it like sharpening the edge.
yes, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. So any other like pros and cons? I want you to like give us an idea about the pros and cons about being in the public attorney's office in contrast to private practice. Like, can you give us some more?
Well, what I learned from the public attorney's office is to uh, peruse the records as fast as we can, and we conduct immediate cross-examination after the public prosecutor. Immediately after, uh,
So you have to
then
act
we
fast.
yes, we have to act fast. We have to keep our cross-examination simple and concise. In contrast with the private practice, you will encounter opposing counsels who are very lengthy in conducting their cross or direct. So sometimes you have to um, make a follow-up questions, even if you see it unnecessary. You just have to ask those questions in order to equate the the length. Kung may matanong about this, you have to uh, make a follow-up question regarding this matter. So it is as if your clients would feel um, abandoned if you don't ask some questions about some matters previously asked by the opposing counsel.
Right, that's interesting. Yeah, I forgot to ask this earlier. I mentioned that that's usually what we hear about the public attorney's office, right? The pay or the
Mm-hmm.
SG, the salary grade.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really? Does it really pay well? Like, can you, for the record, can you like
Yes,
tell everyone? Mm-hmm.
yes. Actually, it is public record anyway. You can research on it with the DBM or with the incoming GAA 2021, the appropriations made by the government for the public attorney's office. And I would say it is worth commending to be with the public attorney's office. Um, if you really want to uh, make a name for yourself under the practice of litigation, then public attorney's office is the best way to uh, practice this craft. of shall we say, the art of direct and cross-examining.
and it's a good way to put money in your bank account. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yes, of course.
As a, so it's a
It's
good.
commensurate with the service.
So yeah, I was gonna ask that actually. So you are paid handsomely, I suppose. Taking from your story, you're paid handsomely. Is the pay commensurate to the difficulty or the pressure that comes with being in the office? Or
No,
sabihin mo kulang?
but of course, yung kulang doon, it's because of public service.
What do you mean?
It is to be in the public attorney's office is a passion. To remain with the public attorney's office is a passion. So regardless of the salary grade, I would say it's more of the passion of helping our kababayan who do not have enough money to hire themselves private practitioners. But of course, this is not to discourage them that they are left with no other choice. Of course, we always hear this from clients. Personally, I encountered client who said, yung public attorney na lang po. They always say lang, but of course, the judges you are assigned to will always defend you and will always say, Sir, ma'am, yung public attorney po na nilalang nyo, mas magaling pa po yan sa binabayaran. So, kung wala po kayong pambayad, dyan na po kayo, sigurado pa po kami dyan sa serbisyo ng public attorney kesa po sa babayaran ninyong abogado. Of course, because we handle
go ahead.
those cases actually. So, we are never new to a certain case. We always handle those cases. So, we get used to defend that particular case. Unlike in private practice, sometimes a certain, assuming rape case, sometimes a private lawyer, when referred to with a rape case, will automatically decline. But with public attorney's office, you handle cases you do not imagine to entertain actually. So you get used to handling cases which are not most of the time handled by private practitioners.
I wanted to ask about, personally, I mean, I don't want to talk about myself, but personally, I've only been in private practice. I don't know, I have no idea how it works in the government or how it is with the PAO. So we always hear it from people in private practice where, the sentiment is what you touched on earlier, that kaya yan nagpaw kasi ganyan. Kasi they're not, the sentiment is, you're not cut out for private practice. That's why you go to the PAO. And I guess it's safe to ask you because you are now considered to have seen both sides. So what do you think about that comment from like people in the private side? Do you agree? Or
I would say no, I
that,
do not agree.
so it's an ignorant sentiment.
Yes, actually it is an ignorant sentiment, and it is perhaps the common impression of the office. But actually, the public attorney's office, if I'm not mistaken, has served within a year, has served 12 million to 15 million clients in a year. So could you simply imagine that kind of load being handled by the public attorney's office? If we are, or if public attorney's office are not that good, then why do we have high acquittal rate? Why do we have high dismissal rates? And why do people that much 12 to 15 million come to our office every year to be assisted by the public attorney's office. So I would say public attorneys are the well trained lawyers in the country, and I would commend every public attorney that practice with us and still practicing as a public attorney. As regards the private practice, you only serve what your clients would like you actually to do, and you do not also want to do more than that, because in private practice, you do what you are paid for. But of course, this is all legal, of course. If they want you to file a motion to dismiss, even if you do not personally want, then you have to file.
Yeah.
So as your client would say, may ginawa ang lawyer ko.
So I guess that's one thing to add to your list of differences. In the public attorney's office, the lawyer or the PAW's word is like gospel truth, while in the private sector, in private practice, yes, you're paid. The client pays you, but they have, I don't know, they have the option of not following what you want and insist on what they want. So is it correct?
Yes.
Is that correct? All right.
Yes, and actually, if you do not do what they want, they could simply hire another lawyer and drop you from the roosters of lawyers and get the same remedy from another lawyer.
Someone who listens to what they want.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anything aside from those that you mentioned? Is there anything that you miss about being in the public attorney's office that you don't have now in private practice? Like any you don't miss the water till the well runs dry moments? You know, something that you might want to tell a current public attorney to please take note of that and learn to enjoy that while you're still there. Is there anything?
Perhaps for the public attorney's office now, for the public, yeah, for my colleagues with the public attorney's office and to those intending to be a public attorney, good luck and take care of yourselves, because I know that despite this season, you still have to entertain the needs of clients. And unlike in private practice, if we see health dangers, we could simply say, pass muna dito. Unlike in public attorney's office, kung may pumasok dyan, you do not know if they are carriers or not. You just have to maintain the minimum safety standards. And of course, they are also at risk kasi hindi naman nila napipili yung kliyente nila. For as long as a client is qualified to be a client of the public attorney, then entertain mo siya dapat. You do not want to deprive them of any privileges simply because you doubt if they are wearing mask or anything. Sa atin, sa private practice, if you, pwede mo sabihin, pwedeng Zoom na lang tayo mag-meet or anything.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, was there anything that I didn't ask that you would have wanted me to ask, or anything that you want to add or talk about?
Yes, actually, as a private practitioner, I am also with a certain organization called the Business Network International with BNI.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined this organization, of course, not only for the network, but also for camaraderie, for at least once a week, you break the monotony of the litigation practice, because when you get into litigation, kuminsan the court sets 8:30. Once you say 8:30, that's actually 8:30 to 12. kung anong oras man matawag yung case mo, and so the whole morning is actually occupied na. So at least with having this BNI would sometimes break my usual schedule, or at least my time to get along with other people from other business or profession.
What's your meeting day? I mean, I understand that there's supposed to be a weekly meeting. Is it
Yes.
is it fixed for everyone? Is it every Tuesday, or is it different with your chapter?
With our chapter, it's also on Tuesday, but we can choose between Monday to Friday, but it's always at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that was the next question actually. Does it have to be that early?
Yes.
All right, that's interesting.
It has to be that early because we do business while others are sleeping
Okay.
or while
Okay.
others are stuck in traffic.
Okay. And it works now with the virtual meetings, I guess.
Yes.
All right. So, anyone you want to greet or shout outs? Before I
Yes, for those who are
yeah, a bit. This is before
okay.
I ask you to talk a bit about your office and your specializations and how to get in touch with you. Yeah, go ahead, Julius.
Yes, for those who are intending to secure legal free legal advice, for as long as we do not do a certain paperwork or anything, just purely legal advice, we do it for free. And this is my way of extending my previous passion of working with the public attorney's office. So um, we would like to entertain some questions, but of course, once we do something, that's another story.
Mhm. It's been a sensitive topic lately among lawyers, right? The the free consultations.
Yes, actually. Um, as regards free consultations, the hardest way to become a client is a relative. It's always the case because they do not see you as a lawyer, but they see you as their relative. They see you as their pinsan, pamangkin, uh, or anything, or apo to that matter. And sometimes your advice is taken for granted. So um, for as long as I do not do anything extra legal, I mean, I do not do paperwork, I do not do notarization for them, or etc. etc. That's okay with me because I am still extending uh, my passion at least to help in one way or the other in just simply giving legal advice.
So yeah,
Huwag
maybe
lang
you could
umabot ng isang oras.
yeah, maybe you could tell the listeners about your office, or yeah, like how do they get in touch with you?
Yes, you could get in touch with us by calling us 0917-323-6605 or to my email address Julius Abraham Ferrer at yahoo.com, or you could also look for our Facebook page. I have J.C. Ferrer Law Office. And for those who would like to leave their messages or questions, free consultations, you could have an appointment with us also.
All right. Yeah, I think you missed anyone that you wanted to greet.
Yes, I would like to greet my wife and my family and my friends who are listening. Of course, you know our common friends, and uh, it's not. I hope it's not yet too late. But to our professors and teachers, happy Teachers Day to everyone.
Happy Teachers Day to our teachers, teachers everywhere.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you about this. How do you prefer to be addressed? I talked about this with the previous guest, with Jamie.
Mhm.
How do you prefer to be addressed? Is it attorney or first name?
Um, if you are purely a client, I would prefer attorney or Mr. Ferrer.
Mhm.
But if you are a friend or a family, Julius or any name you used to call me, then that's okay.
All right, that's noted. That's so it's 1-1. The, on that regard. All right,
Yes.
right. So, any parting shots, parting words before we wrap this up?
Um, yes. Avoid, perhaps to all the listeners, just avoid doing crimes because it's very hard to stay in detention, and it's very hard to set an appointment with courts or with the to file the necessary petition for bail or anything. So at least try to avoid harming others or hurting others. Just brush off anything that irritates you and keep her calm and stay safe.
That's sound advice. All right, so this episode is a wrap. Thanks for being with us again, Julius. Thank you for taking time out to be here tonight.
Welcome, welcome.
I know you're a busy man, so thank you. The objective is to enlighten and inspire, and I'm sure there's someone out there thanking you for that, for your insight tonight. So again, this episode is a wrap. I'll be announcing the next guest on the Facebook page. So if you haven't already, please follow, like, and subscribe. And if you'd rather just listen than watch, then the pod is also on Spotify. So see you next episode. Thanks.